as I sat and watched the third and final trailer to Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker during Monday Night Football. I don't watch football. I sensed initially what I thought was underwhelmed by the trailer. And then, literally seconds later, I realized how much I loved the trailer. It's sparking the beginning of the end of something. The beginning of the end of a new kind of era in the Star Wars franchise that I did not grow up on, that many of us did not grow up on. What's happening is that we're getting ready to say goodbye. Star Wars fans like myself, who've been around for ages, I was there from the very beginning. At 8 years old at the RKO Theater on Fordham Road back in 1978. Saw Star Wars on the big screen, and my life had never been the same since. And then, everything went through Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then in the mid-90s, we found out they were making prequels. George Lucas was coming back to direct them himself, and he gave us The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and my personal favorite, Revenge of the Sith. Then we thought that was over. Apparently not. After George Lucas sold his franchise to Disney, they decided to really milk this and come up with a third and final trilogy to put a bow on it. This was a bow that we wanted back in the 80s. This was not something that we didn't want. People wanted to know what would happen after Return of the Jedi. As a result, they made a lot of books, what are now called the Expanded Universe novels or Legends material. It gave a different direction to the lives of Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, Lando. However, these films speak to us. They speak to a generation. Many people did not like, myself included, did not like Episode 8, The Last Jedi. We expected something else, and they didn't give, and Rian Johnson didn't give it to us. This movie has an expectation from my end, at least, to make The Last Jedi more sensible, more understanding, and more complimentary. Another thing I loved about this third and final trailer was that it didn't reveal anything. I still don't know what the heck is going on. Yes, we saw certain things in the trailer that raised our eyebrows, like Emperor Palpatine's throne, which was, by the way, a concept artist draw from Return of the Jedi. They decided to go with the throne room scene on the second Death Star instead, but they seem to have brought back that concept for this. Speaking of that throne room, you see it as clear as day. See Rey and Kylo Ren staring each other down in the remnants of that room. And then you hear those sad words from C-3PO saying he's going to take one last look at his friends. He's got all these wires and stuff connected to him. Something's going on. I don't know whether... We don't know. We're not going to know until the movie comes out. But there seems to be a special kind of goodbye that's happening. Not just with 3PO, I think. I think there's going to be quite a few characters we're going to be saying goodbye to. As you know, Carrie Fisher passed away a couple years ago. A few years ago now, at this point. And they were able to... J.J. Abrams was able to take extra footage that they didn't use in The Force Awakens and to implement it into this film, The Rise of Skywalker. And how that's going to happen, we don't know yet. We're looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works, and I think it's going to work. We saw a whole fleet of Star Destroyers. They're not just First Order Star Destroyers. These were the classic ones from the original trilogy. Imperial Star Destroyers. People are saying now, throughout all of YouTube and the internet, that Palpatine is coming back, and he is back, but he's here to rule the galaxy once again, and therefore destroy not just the Resistance, but the First Order. It appears to me there's a double cross going on. Maybe. And these Star Destroyers have a Death Star laser cannon etched in the bottom of each one, which means, as you can see, there were like at least 100 of them in the trailers. They all have the capability to destroy probably an entire planet, or at least some kind of weapon of mass destruction to that extent. That's crazy. You don't need a Death Star anymore. All you need is a bunch of Star Destroyers with that capability. Done. I like the idea. I actually like the idea. It really brings a twist to the end, but this is Emperor Palpatine's Darth Sidious's final attempt to rule the galaxy. I think he's been in hiding. In the trailer, you see what appears to be him, but like the side of him, like a cloaked figure looking down on Rey as she's backing up. And he seems to be connected or sitting on something or connected to something that appears to be, if maybe I'm wrong, some kind of a life support system and stuff like that. I mean, you got to explain how he survived the Death Star explosion after Vader threw him down the shaft in Return of the Jedi, right? Got to come up with something. We're obviously going to learn the answer to that, and I'm very excited to find out. Again, what I love about this particular trailer is that it just doesn't really reveal anything at all. So that means everything is still under wraps. Even though they released the toys, even though they released these trailers, they're giving you like little glimpses. But the excitement is still there. As I already got my tickets, so I'm definitely gonna, I'll be there the night of the 20th to see this film in all its glory. That's at least my plan. I want to be able to come out of that theater feeling like this phase of my life is probably over. It's pretty much over. That doesn't mean it's really over. I mean, with Disney Plus coming out next month, with The Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries with Ewan McGregor, and the continuation of the Clone Wars cartoons to tell that story. Star Wars isn't done as a franchise. It's just ending this particular phase, the Skywalker saga, what we have always known to have been the story of, initially, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. It's always been around him. It always centered around him. You hear his breathing in these prequel, in the prequel trilogies. You hear his breathing in the sequel, previews. There's something going on there. Kylo Ren has a decision to make. So does Rey. The two are conflicted. The two have to face each other off again, as we saw in this trailer, and it looks amazing on the remnants of what used to be the second Death Star. A lot of people are like, well, I thought we saw the whole thing explode. Why are there pieces on the ocean? Listen, back in the late 70s and early 80s, everything exploded into a billion kajillion pieces. Let's be real. That was the effects that they had back then. But if you take a cue from the destruction of, say, the Trade Federation ship at the end of The Phantom Menace that Anakin blew up, it didn't explode like that into a million gazillion firework pieces. Had that movie come out in 1977 or 1980 or whatever, it would have done that. But because the effects are better, because we have CGI, because we have such detail, we saw that it exploded all right, but it broke in half and kind of like splintered into bits, which is a more realistic view of what happens to ships when they explode in space. I guess as realistic as it can get. The whole thing's fake, but okay. So that was what we were shown here. That the Death Star the second Death Star apparently, did explode, and pieces of it fell onto what I believe is the forest moon of Endor. That's Endor. It has to be. And Endor does have water on it. So there is a connection there. This preview for me was amazing. And it didn't underwhelm me at all. It has me intrigued. I'm looking so forward to seeing this with my family. I'm looking so forward to seeing how this finally ends. And we'll be saying goodbye to these characters that I grew up knowing, grew up loving. And there's something that tugs at me for that. as a person. You know, I'm, it's an amazing time now, and I pray that when you see it, you'll be just as entertained and as satisfied with the end result as me, as we finally start the countdown to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. This is Ralph Perez from Strange Planet. Take care.